Paddy Dwyer. Did I pronounce it right, mate?
Spot on, Jordan.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for jumping on the podcast. Episode number 5. We're starting to tick along.
Your number 5, I suppose. Yeah, nice.
Yep. Okay. So, first question: how many people call you Paddy the Batty?
No one's ever called me that, but I'm a part of a networking group, which you're a part of as well. Called BNI, and in one of my 45 seconds, I said, "You all know me. I'm Paddy the Batty." No one's ever called me that in my life, but it got a few laughs. But that was the first and last time anyone referred to me as Paddy the Batty, and it was myself.
That's funny, That's funny. Awesome, man. Well, let's get started. So tell me a bit about you, kind of a little bit about your life and what kind of drove you into mortgage brokering.
Yeah, I guess a little bit about me. So I'm obviously a mortgage broker, and I've been doing mortgage broking for about 4.5 years. But my whole working life, I've been in sort of the finance industry. So I did my commerce degree and did a Bachelor of Commerce, over at University of Western Australia, and really enjoyed numbers and working with finances and that sort of thing. And my first job out of university was an associate financial advisor here in Geelong, where I sort of got a bit of a taste into the personal finance side of things. And then was there for 18 months, moved across to the banking land, worked at Commonwealth Bank for 3 years. So again, in finance, working with farmers, helping get loans, manage loans, and do all compliance stuff in the background. And although I enjoyed my time, it definitely wasn't sort of my calling. I'm not a farmer. I don't, pretend to be one. You can only wear R.M. Williams boots and belts. And once, twice, and people can see straight sort of through that. So I lasted 3 years in the banking at CBA, and then moved across to ANZ in commercial banking space for 2 years as an assistant relationship manager, and then a small business banking manager. And that was before going across to mortgage broking. So I guess I love the finance side of things. I love dealing with people. And when I finally found my way to mortgage broking, it was something that I really enjoyed and was quickly passionate about. And then that ultimately led to me starting my own business, which is called Trilending, which has been going for almost 3 years now. So that's, I guess, a little bit about my working life, I suppose.
Awesome, man. So why you said you loved getting in, you love mortgage brokering, and that's why you got into it. So what is it about it that you love?
I think it's a good mix. There's a good mix of finance and numbers, but also helping people. If I compare it to sort of like the commercial banking space, which we ultimately do help small businesses with finance, whether it's commercial lending or the residential side of things, with the purely residential or home loans, it's very tangible from, I guess, the intrinsic value that I feel from it. So being able to help someone buy their first home, next home, upsize, downsize, any of those sort of things, there's a lot of thanks involved to it, and you can add a lot of value to the customer or the client along the process. And I really enjoy those human interactions and really getting a sort of warm feeling inside. Not every application or client you get that, which is completely fair. Some things you do are refinances and there's really not much emotion involved in it. But when there is purchasing a home or starting an investment portfolio, it is very rewarding. But then also I'm dealing with money, numbers, and quite a bit of problem solving when you get sort of down into the weeds for some complex scenarios. So I think it's a good mix of numbers, finance, and then personal relationship building.
Yeah, nice. The best of both worlds. Cool, man. How have you found it starting off? How have you found it coming out of the workforce, working in the Big Four, and then boom, out on your own?
Yeah, so I guess there was a transition there of 18 months where I was an employee of a brokering firm in Geelong, and that's where I sort of got the taste of mortgage broking, and it is a little bit different, especially in the home lending space compared to commercial. And so I did, I was able to learn from people a part of that business and I guess get a couple of runs on the board and quickly worked out that it's something that I feel like I'm good at and that I really enjoy. But when I did move out on my own, it kind of was a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction. With my employer, I had I don't know if it was my 12-month or 18-month or whatever review that I had, and I just sort of mentioned that I love what I do, but I'm sort of passionate about going out on my own eventually. Hearing that and sort of having a conversation with me in that meeting, he's like, well, why not now? Why in the future? I can take this as your 4-week notice if you like. And I just thought, Yeah, I was like, you know what? I haven't planned absolutely anything, but you're totally right. I do want to do this. So then quickly called up the accountant and to figure out how to, set up company, a trust, and work out a trading name and all that sort of stuff. So I sort of had a couple of weeks to get ready and get out on my own, and hadn't really established any strong referral relationships. Had a couple of loans that I potentially could have written for like close friends and family. So the timing was just okay, but it was really scary and it happened so quickly. But also, I'm glad that I didn't think about it too much, because I think knowing now how much work involved and I guess the risks it takes, and I guess the uncertainty of where business is going to come from, I probably wouldn't have decided to do it. Although now I'm unbelievably happy with the decision and super, super confident in, again, my abilities and be able to generate business now. But if I knew the sort of risks and all the, I guess, potential hurdles that you might come across, I might have decided on a different route.
So I normally say this question to the end, but your advice to people wanting to get into brokerage would be: don't think about it, just do it, right?
Yeah, maybe think
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
about it a little bit and just do it. But you've got to work hard for it. Like sort of, you really do have to network and you do have to build strong relationships. And in the mortgage broking industry, it is important, I think, to have good relationships with your key referral partners like accountants or financial planners. And a lot of the time, established accountancy firms and financial planners have long-lasting, strong relationships with existing brokers. So being able to try and, I guess, get your foot in the door or weasel your way in and try to get some of the business from those people can be quite difficult, unless you obviously have close friends that are accountants or something. It's a lot easier. But you really have to work to build those relationships, and it doesn't happen overnight. You've got to have multiple catch-ups with people, provide a lot of value to them before they're kind of willing to sort of send you clients your way. And when you do, you've really got to look after them and really excel so that then they can send you some repeat business. But yeah, the advice is probably don't think about it too much, just do. Most people are more than capable of pulling their socks up when the time comes to it, and you'll learn a lot when you put in the deep end as well. And you can't ultimately think about everything that could go wrong or right. You've just kind of got to do it and take it as it comes, I suppose.
I love that, man. So when you jumped into it, you had a couple of loans on the go or potential opportunities there, and then so you joined a BNI network. What else happened? How did you hustle?
Yeah. Again, I probably didn't hit the ground running as fast as I probably should have. There was a part of me that was thinking, say it was about, I don't know, doing a hard launch on social media and getting marketing and Google AdWords and all that sort of stuff. For some stupid reason, I was like, I don't want to be too busy because I still need to learn like new software because I was changing aggregators.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've been 18 months a broker. Yeah, I'm very happy with predominantly most sort of types of lending, even complex ones. But still, I was like, I don't want to be inundated with business, which in hindsight, you'd be able to get it done anyway. And there's, you'd have to be absolutely flooded to not be able to handle it. So I kind of was just happy with, doing a couple of loans here and there and reaching out to some, close friends and family to see if there were some opportunities to do some lending with them. And then it just sort of naturally came once I sort of started sort of putting some things on Facebook. I had my own network, which I might not have, spoken to in years, reach out to me. And then it just, I guess, naturally come through, I suppose. Yeah. But one thing I do sort of wish I spent a little bit more time doing at the very start was getting a name that I liked of the business. So I'm Trilending now, which is a rebrand. But when I originally did it, in my mind, thought the name doesn't matter. Who cares what I called the name of the business? And I called it PD Financial Services, so just my initials. And I just paid someone on, I think, Fiverr or one of those, you posted a job description and someone just, creates a logo. Might have paid like $50 for it or whatever. But with the name, because that was PD Financial Services, I had existing clients that I helped their home loans helped them with home loans, come back to me and ask if I could do their tax or if I did financial planning as well, because it was confusing on what
They were confused.
Confused by the name. Whereas changing it to lending, at least hopefully it's got some. If you have no idea what I do, you probably think it's got something to do with loans. And then also to be able to have a nice brand that I've created, I can then I guess, be happy with it and how it looks and portrayed, and build my personal brand and do social posting and all that sort of thing. So definitely put a little bit of time into the name and the brand and how it looks, I suppose, at the start. That might be my only advice.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's good advice, though. That's really good advice. And I think that too. Like, I've always kind of thought that, who cares about the name? Like, whatever. But keywords are important. Simplicity is important. All that sort of stuff's important, right?
Yeah, spot on. And I think you want to be happy with it too. Like, you've got to really think about the values that you have in the business and how you kind of want to be portrayed. And yeah, for me, changing it to Trilending gave me a bit of a new lease on life, or lease on the business life, I suppose. To, really put my I guess go out of my comfort zone and start posting on Instagram and doing videos and things, because I was proud of the logo and the name.
Yeah, man. And you're quite active on Insta, man. So how do people follow you on Instagram?
So there's two ways. You can search Trilending. So that's my business account. And then I've got a professional account as well, which is just Paddy Dwyer. Predominantly it's the same sort of posts, but I'm sort of going to try and keep the Trilending purely just, the business. And then I'm going to do a little bit more personal stuff on my side. But it's all, content that should be beneficial to either clients or potential clients. I sort of have pulled back a little bit on it just while I've making some changes internally. I've hired a personal assistant full time now.
Beautiful.
Save a little bit of costs there, and then in the new year I'm going to try and do launch a bit of a new campaign, I suppose, and put a little bit extra time into social media. But I've sort of just went a bit stale for at least the next couple of months.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's excellent. Any crazy loans that you've done that are just weird and wacky? You don't have to go into details.
Yeah, not so much. Well, one of them I think is just an interesting one. I had a couple that were creating a new business or an app. I think I can talk about it because it's in place now. I don't know the name of it, so I'm not going to name it. But it was in the early development stage. They need about $300,000 to produce an app and a website, which was predominantly aimed at nursing students, midwife nursing students, to connect them with the parents to be, because when you're in nursing and do midwifery, you need to have a certain amount of, work experience working with, pregnant people and then working all the way through to the birth. And sometimes it's hard for the nurses to find the people that are pregnant because there's no WhatsApp group or, Facebook group. Yeah. Hey, who's pregnant? Hey, I'll link you up. So I think they created a bit of a niche in the market, or found a niche in the market. And they did heaps of research before they'd come to me, and I basically found a lending solution for them to access the funds for that purpose. They used their equity in their home to be able to do it, but they just had to find the right lender, and someone was able to sort of take it on. I guess the nuance there is they weren't relying on any income that was going to be generated from the business venture or the app or the website. They were both POIG, so the income was going to be coming in no matter what, and they could service the debt. But that was definitely an interesting one for, the purpose of the funds. But what else is there? I guess every scenario is so different. Like, you might think there's something super vanilla. It ticks so many boxes, and there might just be one tiny little aspect of a deal, which means that it cuts out 99% of the lenders. I had one, it was about 12 months ago, but I had a husband and wife, police officer, firefighter. They owned a existing rental property up in Queensland. They have a parcel of land here in Geelong that they wanted to build their dream home on. The property in Queensland, however, was a serviced apartment, and serviced apartment does get a lot of income, so it's very high yield, but you do have high costs as well. And it was just super tricky to be able to find a bank that was able to rely on the income that we've got evidence of from the serviced apartment, and not shade the income. So because I think the return yield was like 11%, whereas a lot of the banks will shade it. And so even though we've got physical evidence of earning 80 grand a year on this investment property, they were only allowed to attribute, say, 40 grand for it, for usable to go towards borrowing capacity, whereas the banks would then utilise the full expenses that were coming through. So it was, in effect...
that's so not fair.
Yeah, really, really unfair. So we had to find people that could do that, and then you go down the track a little bit more like, we found a lender that can accept or two lenders that would accept it as presented by the tax returns and evidence of the historical data. Then when it comes down to it, because we're building the dream home, there's an as-if complete valuation, and one bank that was the I guess, the front runner, valued at 200 grand less than what we needed it to be. And then so then you sort of not start from square one, then you have to go through the process with that next lender. And then we finally got to a good result. They did have to pay a little bit more than you would if you went to a standard bank, but it's just one of those things you think on face value, like you hear that there's investment property, they've got good equity, good income, and then you sort of look in a little bit further and you go like, far out. It's just a lot of hurdles to get through, but that was another good result that was earlier on in the year.
That's great. That's awesome, man. So how do you deal with stressful situations? Do you get many of those that come through where settlement's going wrong for some reason and you've gone, oh my gosh, we've got a couple of days left? And
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I'm probably pretty good. My stress levels I can handle pretty well. Like I don't have super peaks. I do obviously get stressed, but I'm not. It doesn't cripple me, which I think is a good thing. But a lot of the stresses come around sort of the finance clauses or people putting on offers that are unconditional. You know, and they don't have approval or we're just early stages. And I think because I'm always on the side of caution, like you never know until you get that formal approval or really until you get settlement go through. But, you might speak to someone and they, based on all the numbers, all the policy that you can see, the approval, you'd likely get an, approval amount of X, which means you can buy a property worth, Y. And then as soon as we have that conversation, then the same night they'll say, hey, I found a property, can I put an offer on? And you go, technically anybody can put offers on. But you've obviously come to me for the confidence. And then you sort of say, based on all my knowledge and expertise, I'm highly confident you get it approved, but here's the risks. And the things that I stress about is like, I probably shouldn't, but it's like, putting, I guess, the onus onto me where I can never give absolutes. Before until we get approval, and even with pre-approvals, you still need to make sure that the property you're looking to buy is, reasonable to the bank standards and is an acceptable security. And when there's timeframes and things involved, it's obviously stressful. I think the more stress you get really depends on how many times your client calls you or texts you. And I'm always trying to be, upfront on expectations and turnaround times and try to provide updates where I can. But, you might get give them an update on a Tuesday afternoon and then Wednesday morning they've, asked for another update. And, you've basically just started the day. So it's like it just added little stresses there. But usually I'm pretty good at managing that. And I always try to, foresee any hurdles or hiccups that might come and just try to mitigate them. It might be as simple as just getting the approval in as soon as possible, making sure that we're getting, when we've got approval, getting ready for settlement, just really going over how much their contribution needs to be when the time comes, make sure they've got the insurances sorted and everything signed really early on and really checking in with the banks and the conveyancers to make sure that there's going to be no, surprises when the time comes for settlement.
yeah, very good. Very good. Yeah. Do you think about, is there any customers that come to you and you're like, oh, I just don't want to work with you? Like, do you ever think about that? Or you're like, nah, I won't I won't be picky.
Yeah, I'll just take anybody. Not really. Like generally, because most of mine are referral based, so I don't really get any.
Yes, you've got pretty cruisy. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cruisy. So like, obviously, align myself with referral partners that I think are great humans and great people, and they are most of the time. And obviously, they can't control everything, but passing through that are really good. And I think more to that is they value a good, a long-term value add relationship, because technically any person can go to a bank and get, hopefully get a loan approved. Ultimately, they're subject to the policies of that bank that they use, and they're really, just picking out, something. What's the term I'm looking for? Just luck of the draw, I suppose.
Yeah.
But the reason why I use the broker is you do value that relationship, all the extra services and assistance that we provide, and I guess we provide that certainty. So I love working with people that do value, I guess, my time and expertise and that sort of thing. And the people that I generally work with are referred to me because of those things, not necessarily just rate hopping. They're looking for that overall service to make sure that they're really getting looked after. I've only really had one customer which I sort of could tell that they were rate shopping. They mentioned that they'd spoken to 4 other mortgage brokers and had a super complex scenario. And a lot of our time with mortgage broking is upfront when you're assessing all their financials, their goals, objectives, and working out a sort of a strategy or a lending strategy. It takes heaps of time, especially if it's very convoluted and they've got multiple different assets or income sources. So the time it takes is considerably front-ended, and you only get paid at the back end if you get something done. So for this person, I sort of just mentioned, and which we can do, is quoted a commitment fee or a loan assistance fee, which is just basically, for me, it's a buy-in from them to say, they value my time. And this is the cost to do it, because it is considerable. Help you, but he decided not to go through, which is fair enough, because he'd already sort of spoken to however many other brokers, and I'm glad I avoided that one. It was good.
Part of the game, isn't it? It's part of the game. Yeah, I've heard of a few brokers have looked at charging fees for their time. And to me, it makes so much sense, because you're putting in so much effort, and you may or may not land the loan. And there's so many times, so many cases I've heard where brokers have done all the work up front, and then the customer's gone and signed with the bank instead of the broker. And the bank's just used all that homework the broker's done, all the financials, all of this, that, and you've gone far out. I've probably put 30 hours into this, and I've just lost it because
I had one about a year ago, or maybe a year and a half ago. I worked with these customers for maybe 12 months. Only did one a pre-approval, but I think there might have been an extension, but it was very regular, every couple of months, long phone calls, discussions, reassessing borrowing capacity, all that sort of thing. Then when we had pre-approval, phone calls on a Saturday when they were going to, look at offers, look at properties and potentially putting offers on, multiple catch-ups, and obviously the work involved just to getting the pre-approval. Then when the time comes, they signed the contract of sale based on all my, support and, all the extra stuff that I sort of did for them, which is just inherent for most mortgage brokers. And then when the time comes for, settlement or between approval and settlement, they had to get some money out of a Queensland bank, because that's where their savings were. And the person on the phone said, "Oh, why are you taking out this $100,000, which was going to be their contribution to the purchase?" And the customer said, "Look, I've got a home loan working with a broker, blah, blah, blah." And they go, "Oh, look, can one of our home loan specialists, take a look at things?" And the rate, they beat my rate, and I couldn't beat it anyway. It was a very, very good rate. They beat it by 0.05%.
Yep.
And they decided to go with them. And that was
sneaky rascals, man.
Yeah, that lovely
sneaky rascal.
Yeah, absolutely lovely couple. And they actually got me a gift card to use for dinner, which is, they didn't have to do that, and
that's
people
nice,
have done it and not given less.
Yeah.
But on the other side of things, I'd refer them to a conveyancer, and the conveyancer said it was an absolute nightmare working with that bank.
Okay.
When it came to settlement, so she was like, not only I'm sort of foregoing, I guess, all the work and the income that I was potentially going to get for it, and we've made it harder for the conveyancer, which I've passed them on to that conveyancer. But who knows? They might come back around one day. But yeah, absolutely lovely couple. But if it's just purely rate driven, it's hard to compete.
Yeah, man. I hear that all the time. The branches will take the deal out of the rug, like the rug out of the feet. I just completely botched that scenario up. That analogy.
Yeah. But it's so on, I don't know if anyone's mentioned this before, but there's like a Facebook group. It's called Finance and Coffee. It's got like 10,000 brokers, probably brokers and ex-brokers, bankers, and that sort of thing. And it's where you can ask policy questions. You might have a scenario, and then someone will comment and say, "Hey, you should go to NAB, or you should go to Commonwealth Bank," or "I've had this scenario before." So it's really good for collaboration and finding where to best direct a person. And on there, it's just always stories about clawback, banks taking clients internally, refinancing, and you just hear some horror stories, or you hear some stories about funny business. You've people finding some funny business happening in bank accounts, transaction listings and things, which obviously there's no names or anything disclosed, but it's just like, general information, but it's great.
Yeah, they can be sneaky, man. I remember when, my wife and I just moved into this country. Oh, Lara, Lara in Geelong. My wife and I just moved there, and I was going to open up we got crazy about Barefoot Investor, right? So we were doing our bank account buckets and all that sort of stuff. And I went to Commonwealth branch just to open up an account, a transaction account. And I'd never opened a Commonwealth bank account before. And I'm like, hey, just want to open up a transaction account. And she's like looking at me and my wife, with, young back then, in our 20s. And I guess some people say I'm still young, so I should shut up. But they're looking at us like a wolf looking at a deer. Like, that's how I felt like she was looking at me. And she's like, okay, so you want to open up a transaction account? Yep, I just want a transaction account because I want to use it for just savings to keep it away from all other accounts. I needed something far away that I just won't touch. And she's like, okay. Have you got a home loan? I said, well, yeah, I've got a house and land package. It's coming along, all this and that. Okay. Who's your bank with? I'm like, hey, I just want a transaction account or a savings account. Like, okay, no worries. Sure, no worries. And she held me there for like 15 minutes, constantly probing. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about, bro, forget about it. And I walked into Bendigo Bank and I said, right, this is what I want right now. If you're not going to give it to me, I'm out of here. And they got it to me. Yeah. But
yeah, fair enough. It's interesting. So like working in banking land, and I never worked in branches or anything like that, but they've obviously got KPIs, and CBA's huge. They want to do everything in-house. I can't remember what the exact term was at CBA, but at ANZ, I think it was called whole of wallet. So they want a customer to be as sticky as they possibly can. They want transactions, savings, credit cards, FPOS, home loans, term deposits, everything there. So it's so unbelievably difficult or annoying for you to move.
Yeah. It's a great business model.
Yeah. Too bad.
Yeah. No, it's funny. Good times. Nice, man. All right, cool. So a couple of good scenarios, relationships kind of at the key of it all. What do you see yourself like? Where do you see kind of the brokering industry in the next 5-10 years? What do you see yourself doing this the rest of your life? What do you see it all kind of looking like?
It's interesting. I think about this all the time because with anyone's job, you're worried about security, and especially being self-employed. It's like, where's that money going to come from next? And with AI, and you would be able to talk more about this, I just think that it's getting so prevalent and so integrated into every sort of industry, especially ours, that the people that don't embrace it are going to be left behind. And there's always the possibility that most people get left behind and we get replaced. But I'm very confident in the fact that people will still need the human touch and valued relationships. And really, because it's only really just sort of started and come prevalent in most businesses, I, at this stage, can tell when something's been generated or a correspondence been AI generated. And me personally, if I see that, I feel like I'm not cared about.
Yeah.
If they've personalised it and tricked me, good on them. But I think people will really, gravitate towards the people that are humans and genuine about it, and really want to have that safeguard and saying a human's looking after you. I think the cream will come to the top, and especially in the mortgage broking industry. You've got to embrace it. You don't want it to replace you. Otherwise, people are going to do things more efficiently and better and with errors. But mortgage broking is certainly an industry that is, I think, in trouble in the long term, or at least it will really sift out quite a lot of brokers. And the ones that remain will be the ones that are super highly relationship driven and can provide that extra service to customers. Yeah.
I couldn't agree with that more. Even like if I look at, I was filling out a form for someone recently, and it was this kind of partnership. I don't know, I can't remember what it was, but I was applying for something. It was maybe some kind of course, and the form was just a big ChatGPT dump. Right, you can see the emojis, the M dashes, this and that, and I'm like, nah. And I just completely jumped off, not interested. I'm like, nah, you've clearly, you haven't even bothered to like check this. You've just got ChatGPT to generate this. You've dumped it in here, and you've made me. This is 3 pages worth of content I have to read through that you probably haven't read through. Forget about it. Like, I got so frustrated, and I see it all the time. And as soon as I see that, I'm like, I've switched off. I've switched off completely. And I was thinking about this while you were talking. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you go. I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah. You're not just in the finance industry. You're in the emotional industry, right? because it's a very emotional decision to buy a house, and they're trusting in you and your confidence in getting this thing done. It's a massive deal. That's why mortgage brokers, they probably get gifts, from the couples that buy because they're so appreciative. It is such an emotional thing. So yeah, I think the emotional industries. I was thinking about this the other day. Things like psychiatrists and coaching and all that sort of stuff. I think they're going to flourish in this AI wave because people are going to want that relationship and emotional interaction more and more as the world gets more artificial. So yeah, I think you're definitely safe.
Yeah, it's interesting with so I certainly use a bit of AI just to, I think like I'll write out an email if it's a complex one and I know what I'm saying, I'm trying to portray, and then I might just, without any personal information getting put in, I'll get ChatGPT to reword it so it's better and easy to flow, like has a better flow, because sometimes mine's just a word dump. It's interesting. So my new assistant, she uses it a little bit, and it's really just for following up loan documents and supporting documents, I should say. So it's really admin based. But you got to be careful with ChatGPT because say you or any of the AIs, say you teach it that you're a mortgage broker assistant and you're following up, whatever. It can add just random stuff in there that's not actually applicable. And one example was we were chasing up, so just a straight refinance. So existing property, existing loan, just wanted to get a better rate. So we're chasing up some supporting documents like pay slips, IDs, and that sort of thing. And in our follow-up email, just checking in to see they've got our request. The version that she's pre-populated with the AI was, hey, just touching base to see if you got our emails. The property market's hot right now. There's great opportunities out there. We just need a couple of things to get the ball moving and to continue. And I'm thinking, it doesn't make any sense. Like from ChatGPT's point of view, mortgage broker, buying properties makes sense.
Yeah.
Saying the property market's hot, who cares?
Doesn't mean anything. Yeah.
Doesn't mean anything. Plus, he's not looking to buy a house. He's looking to refinance. So it's just like having conversations like, we just have to be careful. We want to make it human. We want to touch it. I would still suggest writing it out and then just getting it to check over if you're unsure, but definitely don't rely on it. But it's just like little things like that, which it might get better at, I guess. But I guess it's only as good as your inputs as well. So you got to be careful.
Have a play with Notebook LM. Have you had a play with that yet? Okay, so highly recommend have a play with it. So Notebook LM is Google, it's like Gemini, Google, but it doesn't hallucinate. It can't. It does not hallucinate. Whatever you input into the knowledge base, its AI will generate based on that information it's fed. So you'll be able to train an agent way better using Notebook LM because it will not hallucinate. It can't. Yeah. Check it out.
Yeah, I will.
And it's so easy to use. Yeah. And there's so many, it's sick. So you can even, Notebook LM, sponsored by Notebook LM. You can plug in a bunch of information and it'll give you summaries. Ask you questions. Do you want to know about this? Do you want to know about this? It'll break down into a slideshow video if you want. It'll break it down into an audio podcast where two people talk about the document that you fed it. So if you want to if you can't be asked reading a 15-page document for some reason, but you want an overview, an in-depth overview, it'll generate a podcast of people talking about it. It's just so good, man. Check it out. Just have a play with it. See if it helps.
Awesome. Definitely gonna have a play.
Yeah. Awesome, man. We better leave it there. But that was great. Thank you so much for jumping on. I'm gonna have to have you back. When something blows up in the mortgage brokering world.
Yeah, mate. I would love to come back on. I really enjoy this sort of format, and I love sort of talking about mortgage broking. I'm passionate about it, and I love talking about AI as well, even though I'm an absolute newbie to it. Mate, it'd be good to rack your brain after this call. Learn more about the AI space.
100%, man. 100%. Well, thanks so much, Paddy. Just a quick plug on your socials again. So it's Paddy Dwyer. We'll link the for Trilending. We'll link all the information in the description. Is there anything else that people can find you on, or?
Predominantly, it is just Instagram. I do have the Facebook account, but it's not really that active. And I've got my website, which is just trilending.com.au. But it's pretty basic. So definitely stick to Instagram.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Paddy. Cheers.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan. Cheers, mate.